And I just go, okay.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming, everyone. And we've got a talk by Gail Gravett on Cumbria Clothing Collective. Is that the right way round? Yay! So over to you, Gail.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year, everybody. Hopefully you can see the whole of the screen. So can you see all of that?
Yep, you can see it.
And it should have it from, yeah, that's it. Basically, Cumbria Clothing Collective is now a CIC. It was created as a CIC at the beginning of December 24. And our objective is to reduce Cumbria's clothing waste one item at a time. I've got three lovely directors plus myself. Carol Greenland, who's on this call, is one of those directors. I also have Karen Bentley Brown, who is from Future Fixers. Some of you may know Karen, and also a lady called Jill Liley, who's come in from our marketing point of view. So those are my three directors who are helping me move this new CIC forward. So the objective is to reduce Cumbria's clothing waste one item at a time, sorry to repeat that, and to investigate the life cycle of clothing and to enlighten people about some of the fast fashion issues and clothing issues and inspire them to make a change. So I'm just going to cover these areas and hopefully by the end of it, there'll be some next steps that any individual can do starting today. So let's just see, hopefully that you can be involved. And I'd love you to share this with anybody and come back to us about this longer term. So this trigger, this was the trigger. I was watching a Simon Reeve program about traveling through the Americas. This was about 18 months ago, nearly 2 years ago now. And he highlighted the issues regarding the clothing in the Atacama Desert, the waste clothing sitting in the Atacama Desert, which you can see from space. There is a mountain that is so big you can see from space. And I'm just going to play a quick video, which is a fashion show that they created there, just to highlight the issues. And all of the clothes that are shown in this fashion show are actually created from the rubbish of the clothing that they found there. A lot of the clothing comes from the US. Unfortunately, a lot also comes from Europe. We tend to think about the global south as being the place that you can just dump things. And this clothing, apart from the fact that it's massive, it's got labels on from our charity shops, from most of the big fast fashion, well, most of the fashion trends around the world. But also burning of it is causing a lot of disease and issues with the people. A lot of it is oil, plastic, polyester type fabrics. And it really has become a massive issue. And it's not just a massive issue in Chile, it's a massive issue across a lot of sub-Saharan Africa as well. But I just wanted to show that this was the trigger. This was the starting point of why I wanted to do this. And I thought I've got to do something about it. My original degree was environmental science. And I come at it not from a fashion point of view, but from an environmental point of view. But that's why I need people, lovely people like Carol, who understand the fashion industry, to be working alongside it. So these are just some of the basic facts, which is really, really scary. 30% of clothes, unsold clothes, end up in landfills. 250 items of clothing are dumped, most of which are plastic based synthetics. And one of the big ones is that we have on average 118 items of clothing in our wardrobes, and only 26 of them will be worn in the last year. So we have a huge fast fashion issue. And the picture that you can see on the left there, which is from Ghana, and we actually ship from Cumbria some of our clothing down to the global south, including Ghana. And it was said, oh yeah, but we can sell it to the Ghanaians. They'll then use it on into their industry. The trouble is, if it's not a quality of product that they don't want to sell on, it gets dumped, and it's actually ending up in the rivers. The fishermen are actually bringing it up in their nets. It is a huge, huge problem. And just one minor fact, there's currently enough clothes in the world to clothe the next six generations. So you're talking about 150 years worth of clothing currently in the world today, and yet we're creating billions of items every day. And one of the items that people don't appreciate quite often is that if you buy online, a lot of the companies now will say, well, don't, I'll give you a refund, but don't return it because I don't want to deal with it. But because they do not have the resources and it's not viable for them to actually check that item that's been returned, what's wrong with it? Is it the wrong size? Has it been worn? Has it got lipstick on it? Repackage it. It's not worth their while. So a lot of it ends up in landfill, and that is just criminal, I believe. So this is where Carol comes in. So the number one recommendation around the world of the whole fashion industry is, because we only wear 28% of our current wardrobe, is go and re-love your wardrobe. So Carol's business, Wardrobe Wake Up, her rule of 3 is sitting here. Do you want to just say that at the top there, Carol?
Yes, it's when you're considering purchasing something, ask yourself, will it go with 3 other things already in my wardrobe? Can I layer it for different seasons, and can I accessorize it for 3 different occasions? So create 3, accessorize to match with 3, yeah, more or less that. But, just think, shall I go over that again? Shall I say that again?
Yep.
So when you're thinking of buying something, think carefully. Think, will it go with 3 other things already in my wardrobe? Can I layer it for 3 different seasons? Can I accessorize it for 3 different occasions? That's the ideal. Doesn't always work. But if you can get 1 or even 2 of those things, that'd be great. If you can get 3 of those things, that'd be fantastic.
And it's very much looking at a personal style, isn't it?
Yeah, because once you've had your wardrobe session with me, you'll know your best colours and your styles which are most flattering, and you'll be more encouraged to wear more of your clothes more often. So don't save things for best, just wear them.
Yeah, it's quite funny because Carol inspired me to I bought a dress for a wedding, and then I wore it to Chelsea with flats last year, and then I put a jumper over it and I wore it somewhere else, stuff that I would never ever have done before. But we don't have to keep things for best, just wear them. So yeah, it's really having a look at your wardrobe, seeing what you've got. And actually the first recommendation is shop your wardrobe before you shop anywhere else, because you probably got it already.
You probably have, or I can recreate outfits that you've never thought of.
The other lovely comment that you often make, Carol, is that your clothing is your business card.
Your personal, you are your visual, as women in business, you are your visual business card,
Which I think is lovely. So
yes.
and again, yesterday I heard another presentation, and it was saying that it doesn't matter how many times wear an outfit, if you feel happy in it and you look good in it, people won't actually remember what it is. They just know that you look good. And the whole thing about looking good is really, really positive. So, we have this concept that, oh, I can't wear that because I've worn it there before. Most of the time, people couldn't care less what they've seen you in before, and they're not going to comment. But if you look good in it, they just know that you look good. And that's a positive message to take forward.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think if your colour's right, if it's your colour, you'll look good. Because I've made a comment saying, wow, that colour looks fantastic on you. It brings all the right complexion out of you, but I would never wear it, but it looks great on you. And I think that's the key thing, that the colour is essential, really.
Yep.
And another thing that I heard was, I think it's look good and they remember the woman, look bad and they remember the clothes.
Cool, we're going to capture these, Carol.
You want to be remembered as the woman you are. Like I said in my pitch, it's about empowerment and confidence.
Yeah.
So a key part of our project is looking at your wardrobe and looking at what you've got in your wardrobe and just making the most of your clothes that you've already got. And that's obviously going to save people money at the moment because they don't need to go and buy new stuff if they've already got it. And then you're looking at the culture of care. So, you know, if you can look at clothes that last, maybe spend a little bit more on that item. They often say if you buy something cheap, you buy it 10 times. If you buy something good quality, you buy it once and you'll save the money longer term. And also trying to keep clothes out of the loop, clothes that repairing and reworking, and we're going to come back to that because that's going to be a key activity that we'll be working on. So caring for your clothes, if you have good quality clothes, or if you have whatever quality clothes, there's a whole opportunity of altering, mending. We know all of us change shape on a regular basis, or some of us do anyway. You know, why do you have to throw those clothes out? You could maybe get them refashioned or altered. If you've got the elbow out of a jacket, or you've got your shoes. So one of the key projects that we're going to be developing very soon is a rework, repair directory. And that will be listing all the companies in Cumbria that do alterations and mending and sewing. There is a company down south called The Seam, where they actually have a marketplace where if you need something mended, you can just go onto the directory and they'll actually match you with somebody who could do that mending for you at a very reasonable price. And there is a demand, and this is all part of the repair economy. So we know we're working with the repair cafes, with Karen Bentley Brown down in South Lakeland, but also with a number of other places that you can refashion and recreate using your existing clothes. And, you know, for maybe a change of 20, 30 quid, you can actually get things refashioned and altered rather than going out and buying new. So there is a value in clothes as well. And actually, John Lewis have just done this. You know, John Lewis used to be famous for the place to go for sewing and materials. And they've now started 5 stores to alter, clean and mend clothes to prevent waste. So that trial started last year, and I'm going to be following up with them and seeing how they're getting on. But they're recognizing, and a lot of the stores are recognizing that you shouldn't be throwing things away. You should be actually looking at it. And then getting some new clothes. If you can't find it in your wardrobe, there are lots of alternatives before just going straight online and buying yet another item. And one of the things to think about is hit pause before you do that one click. You know, do you need it? Or is it something that is just an impulse that the media has pushed to you, or the social media has pushed to you? Just have a think before you actually buy. There's a whole load of options of Moss Boss and rental. You know, we've always thought about renting clothes just for weddings and things. But now in London, loads and loads of young people are just borrowing clothes for interviews, for a special event, or you can even get a whole week's work clothes. If you're going into the office all of a sudden and you haven't been in the office for ages, you can go and rent those clothes for a week rather than actually going to buy them. Vintage is now 10% of the fashion market. So, you know, there's lots of different places you can go and buy vintage, either online or in our charity shops. And if you're going to buy new, think ethical, and I'll come back to that in a minute. But also we're working very closely with Cumbria Clothing Swaps. There's 3 main swap companies across, well, ladies actually, who are trying to coordinate clothing swaps across Cumbria. And we will be promoting them and working with them to encourage clothing swaps. And we're looking at a major Cumbrian clothing swap for Big Green Week, which is going to be in June.
So tell me a bit more about that, Gail. How does that work, the clothing swaps?
The clothing swaps, I would say probably, to be cheeky, they're a bit like an upmarket jumble sale. However, what you do is you come in with 5 or 6 items of clothing that you want to swap. They'll then sort them out, hopefully, into size and color or shape or the type. And then you pay maybe £5 to just go along to the swap, and then you can just swap your clothes with anybody else who's got clothes there already. And for instance, a lot of young people are doing this. A lot of people are doing this as an evening event. Carol and I may be doing some of this with a couple of presentations we're doing in village halls around the county
Yeah, so
looking
if
at clothing swaps.
you don't see any items, if you don't see 5 items that you like, you can just go away with 1 item.
Yeah, you can go and yeah.
Any person's clothes. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
And one of the really one thing that we did actually at our golf club, I didn't organize it at all, but they decided to do a clothing sale this year. And this was women's golf clothing. And a lot of my colleagues get through a lot of golf clothing. But they actually sold 100 items between each other, made over £1,000 for the ladies' charity. And, you know, people didn't actually go and buy new golf gear this year. They just swapped it with, bought it from colleagues. So there is a money opportunity for organisations and community events just to, you know, look at activities.
Yeah, so I'm doing some work for cancer care, so I could suggest it to them.
Yep, definitely.
Would you get involved in that? Do they need to speak to you about it?
We can certainly give you links to people who are experts in this. So, and there's a lady called Layla, and I can't remember her surname, down in Kendal, who's very happy to help organise those sort of things.
Okay, great.
This is a charity that exists in CIC, that exists in Carlisle, and you can donate, you know, clothing to them. And the really nice thing is that they'll help you out with clothing for interviews. And this is men and women, it's not just women. And also it's a great place for prom clothes. You know, kids don't want to use their prom clothes twice. And there's lots of kids who don't have the money or the support to actually go to a prom, but it's so much of a high thing in high school now, or senior schools nowadays. So you can go and rent or get a, you should go to the ball. You can go and get boys and girls clothing, which is, I think, is absolutely lovely nowadays. And the charities have really got on board with this. This one is actually the Red Cross. They are now talking very much about vintage statement and collecting clothes, and they have a second-hand fashion shop online, and they're really getting into it. And also the Salvation Army are really, really supporting this. And actually, I would strongly support the Salvation Army. They have a fabric recycling centre where they're actually selecting all the fabrics, sorting them out. And they have a polyester where they're melting down the polyester into new fabrics so it can be used for new production. And they're also doing that with cotton and other fabrics. So the Salvation Army are doing really well. They have a company called Satcol where they work on recycling fabric. Then there's another, this is a company I use online. They are really ethical in their manufacture. They only produce clothing that people want. And they only place the orders once people have actually placed, they only place the order for production once the people have actually placed the order. But if it doesn't fit, they have a facility to swap online. So if you bought something and it doesn't fit and you don't like it, you can just go online and swap it with somebody else who might have bought something that doesn't fit them. And they reduce by radically reducing the amount of returns that they've got, which is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, so just to recap on that, Gail, because that's quite different. So they don't make the product.
Yes, they do. They have a relationship with, they have a production company in India who does the work. So they go and design with the production company in India. They actually finance the school, and they're making sure that the women are being paid properly and that there's no kids working in their factory. So yeah. They have an end-to-end relationship from the creation to the production to the sale to the swaps. So they're actually got a completely circular economy as much as they can.
So they're making new clothes, but if there's someone who returns something, then they organise a swap then.
Yep, and they make the clothes only to order, so you have to wait 6-7 weeks before it turns up, so you can't expect it turning up tomorrow. But you've got to think about it a bit further in advance.
To order, right? Okay, great.
Oh, sorry. Then there's a whole section that will be on the website regarding ethical purchasing. So I'm not going to go into detail, but there is some horrendous stories out there how clothing is made. There's lots of videos on Netflix and stuff nowadays. And it's just having a thought as where you're buying that product from. The worst product ever, or the worst company ever, is Shane. SHEIN, which is a Chinese company, and their whole ethics regarding the production, the material, and how they treat their workers is one of the key issues. And they've actually just been stopped at the moment coming onto the UK Stock Exchange because of their ethical production. So the messages are getting through, which is really good. There's a whole load of new fabrics out there. And again, there will be a directory on our website, which will show you the different types of fabric which you should be thinking about or possibly thinking about. Obviously not polyester, nylon and acrylic, which are all made from plastic. But equally, some of the organic cotton isn't as good as people think it is. So it's just having a look as to which are the products or the materials that you should be buying clothes from. So when I buy anything now, I actually look at what it's made from and where it's coming from, just to make sure that it's meeting my personal thoughts about eco material.
So why isn't organic cotton very good?
It's still, cotton is still the world's dirtiest crop, even organic cotton. They still use a lot of difficult products, and they are taking over a lot of the rainforest to produce some of the cotton still. So it's you still have to be careful about looking at where the cotton is coming from.
So the wood one, Ecovero.
Ecovero.
You think
there's some issues about them as well, in the fact that some of the forests are being used. So again, it's not all brilliant, and it's just, but it's making people aware just to think about what material they're buying clothes from.
Yeah. And tell me about lyocell.
Oh, thank you, Alison. I think that is another wood purchased product, but I don't know it in detail at the moment.
Okay. So what material do you suggest?
Primarily materials that are not mixed with polyester. So although we've gone down this world of these lovely stretchable materials, so jeans and things like that, but if you can go for the purer products, so the pure cottons, and you can go for the purer denim, it's better than anything that's mixed with polyester, because it's far more difficult to separate out those materials longer term.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at more wool products, sorry.
But if you're going to keep those jeans for 10 or 15 years, then you not chuck them out, then, and you buy the right shape and you wear them and wear them and wear them and wear them, then, that's you've done the right thing.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
even if they've got a bit of polyester in,
yeah.
most of them have.
I got two young adults, I'm calling them adults now, 18 and 21, and they, tight jeans are out now, so they want wide jeans, and they're giving me, say, give these to charity, and I say, well, keep hold of them because it'll all come around again and you'll want narrow ones again, but they don't want to. They say, oh, well, it won't fit me. So
makes them think they won't fit them,
because they'll grow. I don't think they're going to grow more, but that's
they're not fully grown yet, do you think?
Well, I mean, they're massively into sports, so they're very muscular. So I think they grow the other way, they get smaller.
But the other option is that they could potentially, if they wanted to, they could turn them into shorts.
Yes, they could turn them into shorts.
So, they're still, okay, the long leg bit might change, but they could turn them into shorts.
But it isn't about fashion. I keep saying this, oh, you can't wear skinny jeans or whatever, just wear wide jeans. Well, you can, of course you can. I wear my skinny jeans in the winter because they fit tight and you can put a big baggy sweater over. And my wide ones in the summer, which are a bit more, cooler.
Yeah.
It's how you wear it. It's different seasons and different reasons and how you put with it. And
yeah, I think that will be a big thing to educate that age group, that we need to start letting go of this fashion trend, and it's how you wear it, Carol. That was a key.
I've said in my pitch, it's never about fashion. Fashion's so manipulative. It's about creating your personal style and feeling great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So these are just a few companies that, you know, for your sons especially, Rapineri is a fantastic company. They create really lovely t-shirt, cotton tops, and they recycle. They will take those cotton tops back and recycle them back into new cotton tops. They have 100% recycling facility for cotton, and they do all types of sportswear and everything else. But a lot of other companies, Patagonia, you know, are well known for their recycling. And actually, I've put Harper's Bazaar on here. I only found this out a couple of days ago. They actually have a whole directory on their website, which we will be referencing, of ethical places to buy nice quality clothes. So, you know, there are a lot of directories, but it's just making people aware that there's a whole, you know, and there's a whole huge amount of work about ethical and sustainable clothing companies. And a lot of it goes back to the communities. So it's not just the material they make it out of, but is how their factories are run and how the people are paid. So there's a big societal issue in 28 million people in India and Nepal and Pakistan who are making this clothing. So, you know, there is a social issue that we have to consider if we start reducing our clothing and where people are going to be buying it from. So I'm very conscious of that as well. Disposing of clothes. Charity shops aren't always the answer. There's lots of places. The one in the middle is a jumble sale. You've got donations, you've got vintage. You can make money out of your clothing if you've got a value to that clothing. eBay. I made 50 quid over the winter selling a coat on Vinted. So, you know, there is an opportunity to actually sell your clothes and look elsewhere rather than just not necessarily charity shops. You can potentially also work with creatives. And I'm working with Kendall College and looking at opportunities of how people can actually use clothing and material in different ways. And this is my son actually on the right hand side here. He had a project at university and he had to create the lion from Narnia out of recycled clothing from a clothing shop. He had £25 to do it. And he managed to do that by just shredding up lots of cotton and getting a fur coat, kid's fur coat and a whole load of other stuff. So you can do it and you can be creative. And there is a big change going on in the world. This was actually the London Fashion Show this year, where eBay and Oxfam actually started off the fashion show by using pre-loved clothes. So it is getting into the fashion industry, but quite slowly. Although it's a trend that's moving quite quickly actually at the moment. So what can you do as individuals? Go shopping in your wardrobe. That doesn't cost you anything. Press pause before you buy online. Just have a think. Do you need it before you just press that button again? Look at swaps and charity shops before buying new. Anything you buy, can it be worn with 3 other items and accessories? And I am strongly recommending at the moment the Salvation Army for recycling, because they do have this whole fabric reprocessing centre. And we're looking at them far more closely. So we have a website, which is currently being redeveloped at the moment. We were very fortunate to get some funding before Christmas. And this is where Jill Liley comes in, and she's recreating our presentations, our social media campaigns, our website, and our presentation material. And then the next big project we're doing this year will be the repair directory, linking up all the different repair companies in Cumbria and making it easy for you to find somebody who can mend and change your clothing for you.
So the repair directory, will that be on cumbriaclothingcollected.co.uk?
Yes, it will. We don't know what we're going to call it yet, but it's certainly going to start off there, and it may grow.
Yeah.
And that's it. Okay. Any questions?
Has anyone got any questions? If you want, you can put it through the chat, and we can ask Gail there. So I thought that was amazing, Gail. I used to make my own clothes because they never fitted me when I was young, and I used to do it all by hand. So I think what you're doing is absolutely awesome. I love it. And I think if people could amend their own clothes or adjust them so that they could do something so that they still wear it, that would be massive. So, you know, courses on how to mend your own clothes would be good as well. I go shopping. When I go into charity shops, I just look for the colour, and the assistant, she'll look at me and she says, oh, that's size 16 to 18, you want this? And I say, no, because I'm just looking for the fabric, because I might cut it up, and you know, I've got an 18 size t-shirt and I cut it into a skirt. So all I did was cut across underneath the arms, put elastic waistband, and I wear it as a skirt. And people say, oh, you know, they've had loads of comments from people just in the high street about it. So, yeah.
Exactly what we want. And the other thing I should have said on that presentation is that we are working closely with Westmoreland and Furness and Cumberland Council to look at how we can actually even recapture curbside collections and capture material better at curbside collections, rather than in, you know, a variety of different ways of capturing material instead of it ending up in landfill. So that's part of the project, but there's lots of components, and we're looking at what we can do immediately. There's only 4 of us and we're not being paid. So it's trying to actually get this to a position that it's a viable business, and that's what I'm aiming at by the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing is organisations or charities do an event where people turn up with 5 items, pay £5 and go away with up to, I think that would be a really good, because it's a win on all directions, isn't it?
It is. Yep.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you very much, Gail. My last question I've got asked, because this might go beyond Cumbria, are there other places around the country that are doing this as well? What you're doing?
Not in the way we're doing it, no. There's about 7 websites around the world that are actually doing things, but there's no one else in the UK that's doing this whole range of stuff that we're currently doing. There are components, you know, like that repair directory down in London and these rental companies in various places, but nobody's taking on board. From what I have seen and evidence I've seen, nobody is looking at working with a council to actually change their approach to and reducing the items in Cumbria, in a county. Yeah.
Okay, watch this space then. Well, I wish you luck with it. I think what you're doing is great. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.